A man in a delivery uniform stands frozen at the front desk of a five-star resort.
2 years. I saved for 2 years for my mother.
He saved for 2 years.
There has to be a mistake, please. This is everything I have.
The manager standing across from him doesn't blink. He wears a charcoal gray suit that costs more.
It's all right here in the terms you signed, sir.
And he smiles the way a man smiles when he already knows he's won. Resort fee, reservation.
Between us, Frank, who do you think they'll believe? A delivery driver or me?
It's all right there in the terms you signed. Maybe next time you'll read the fine print. 3 feet away, another man is watching. Baggy shorts, a faded gray hoodie, a baseball cap pulled low. Nobody looks at him twice. Nobody has any idea who he is. But the guy in the wrinkled clothes owns this resort. He owns every resort in the chain. And what he learns in the next 48 hours is going to burn everything he thought he knew about his own company straight to the ground. A single mother lost her whole savings to a hidden trap. A war veteran got talked into a package he never needed. And the general manager bragged out loud about how he squeezes families for every dollar they have, while the real owner stood close enough to touch him. This is not a movie. This is a true story. His name is Adam Sandler, and this is what happened the day he checked into his own hotel as a nobody. Adam sat in the driver's seat of a beat-up SUV in the far corner of the parking lot, staring at the gleaming glass tower of the Blue Harbor Resort in Sarasota, Florida. The afternoon sun hammered off the water and the white sand and the polished lobby doors, and from the outside the place looked perfect. 7 properties up and down the Florida coast. The Sarasota flagship alone booked out almost every night of the year. On paper, the numbers were beautiful, but something had been eating at him for months. The reviews had started to shift. Not all of them, but enough. Words kept showing up that made his stomach turn. Hidden fees, bait and switch, predatory. One review in particular had kept him up for 3 nights straight. A woman named Denise had written, "They quoted me one price on the phone. By the time I got to the desk, it was almost $2,000 more. When I tried to cancel, they told me I'd lose my deposit. That deposit was everything I had. I trusted this place because of who owns it. I was wrong." Those last 3 words had stuck in him like a splinter. I was wrong. Adam had built this company 12 years ago, not for the money. He had plenty of that. He built it because of a memory he couldn't shake. When he was a kid, his father saved for an entire year to take the family on one real vacation. One. A little seaside motel, nothing fancy. His dad, Sam, worked double shifts to make it happen. And when they finally got to the front desk, tired and sunburned and happy, the motel piled on charge after charge that hadn't been mentioned anywhere. Cleaning fee, beach access fee, parking fee. His father didn't have it. Adam still remembered the look on his dad's face when he had to tell the kids the trip was getting cut short. The shame in it. A proud man standing at a counter, being made to feel small in front of his own children. Sam passed away years ago, never knowing his son turned that worst day into the foundation of something good. The whole idea behind Blue Harbor was one simple promise printed on every brochure. Every guest leaves with exactly what they were promised. No surprises, no regrets. The thought that something might be rotting underneath all that made Adam sick. So he'd left the motorcycle and the nice clothes at home. He pulled on old shorts, a hoodie gone soft and gray from too many washes, a cap that swallowed his face. Honestly, it barely counted as a disguise. This was pretty much how he looked on a normal Tuesday. None of the staff at the Sarasota property had ever met him in person. He ran the company from the road these days, opening new locations. And as far as anyone at this desk knew, a guy named Marty Bishop was about to walk in and book a family vacation. He took a breath and got out of the car. A young man at the front desk lit up when Adam approached. "Welcome to Blue Harbor. I'm Ryan. Checking in or looking to book?" "Looking to book," Adam said, dropping his voice into something flatter, easier. Family trip. Been saving a while. Want to get it right. Ryan smiled, and it was a real smile, but there was something nervous flickering under it. His eyes kept darting toward a glass office off the lobby, where a man in an expensive suit stood watching them like a hawk over a field. "We've got some great packages," Ryan said. "What kind of dates are you thinking?" Before Adam could answer, a voice cracked open at the far end of the counter. "This isn't right. My wife and I did the math down to the dollar. We've been saving for 2 years." Adam turned his head slowly, keeping his cap low. A man stood at the other end of the desk, gripping a stack of papers so hard they were tearing at the corners. Late 40s, thinning hair going gray, a face carved with worry lines. He wore the red uniform shirt of a company called Coastline Freight, and his work boots were scuffed down to the leather. A wedding ring, worn thin, sat on a tired hand. A small photo slipped out of his papers and drifted to the marble floor. 3 kids around an older woman in a wheelchair, all of them mid-law, frozen in a better moment. The man in the suit came gliding out of the glass office. His name tag read Trent Callahan, General Manager, gold cufflinks, a watch that caught the light. He wore a mask of concern that didn't reach his eyes at all. "Mr. Delaney," Trent said, smooth as oil, "I understand your frustration, but these fees are clearly outlined in your reservation agreement." He pulled the contract close and pointed to a wall of tiny print at the bottom. The seasonal rate adjustment, the mandatory resort package, the premium service fee, all standard. Frank Delaney's face went pale. "But the woman on the phone told me the total was $3,800, not $5,600. That's my family's whole savings in that deposit. We can't come up with another $1,800. Trent's smile never wavered. "I'm afraid whoever you spoke with is no longer with us, and I'm sorry, but a verbal quote doesn't override a signed agreement." He tapped the paper. "Perhaps you should have read it more carefully." From where he stood, Adam noticed something that made his blood go cold. The date stamp on that contract was from that morning. The ink practically still wet. Those extra fees had been added after Frank first agreed. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was fraud happening in real time in his own lobby. "Please," Frank said, his voice dropping to almost nothing. "This trip is for my mother. She's sick. The doctors say she doesn't have long. She grew up an hour from this coast and she's always wanted to see it one. More time, with all of us, the whole family together. This was the only way I could give her that." Trent leaned back and adjusted his cufflinks like he was bored. "Well, Mr. Delaney, you have 2 options. You can cover the difference by Friday, or we cancel the reservation. And the cancellation clause means you forfeit the deposit." He let the words hang there like poison. $2,800. The color drained out of Frank completely. $2,800. The money it had taken 2 years of overtime to scrape together. Gone either way. Pay what you can't afford or lose what you already gave. It was a trap with no exit, and it was built to look like a rulebook. "This is robbery," Frank whispered. "I'll report this. I'll go to the owner." Trent's smile turned into something almost hungry. "By all means, contact Mr. Sandler. He's a very busy man." He examined his nails. "I'm sure your complaint will reach his desk eventually. Probably right around the time your mother's condition." He let the sentence trail off, and the cruelty of it landed harder than if he'd finished it. He leaned in close. "And between us, Frank, who do you think they'll believe? A delivery driver who didn't read a contract? Or the general manager of a resort that clears millions a year?" Frank's shoulders dropped. Every bit of hope drained out of his eyes. And Adam knew that look. He'd seen it before, on his own father's face, at a motel counter, a lifetime ago. Every muscle in his body wanted to rip off the cap right then and end it. But he stopped himself, because if Trent Callahan was willing to run this scam in the open middle of the lobby, how deep did the rot really go? How many families, how many employees were in on it? He needed to know all of it before he tore it out. He needed proof. Frank gathered his torn papers with trembling hands and shuffled toward the door. On the way out, he bent and picked up the fallen photo, stared at it for a second, and slipped it back into his shirt pocket. He didn't say another word. The automatic doors slid open, and he was gone. Adam turned back to Ryan, the young clerk, who was staring at his own keyboard like he was ashamed of it. "Hey," Adam said quietly, "those fees that guy was talking about, they gonna show up on mine too?" Ryan glanced toward Trent's office. The general manager had gone back inside. The kid swallowed hard. "Look, Mr. Bishop, I shouldn't be saying this." He kept his voice low. "But Trent has a system. We quote low over the phone. Get people excited. Get them to book. Get their deposit down. Then the fees come out when they show up in person. When it's too late to walk away without losing money." Adam nodded, easy, encouraging, and while he did it, he slipped his hand into his hoodie pocket and started the voice recorder on his phone. "If we don't do it his way," Ryan went on, "he sticks us on the dead shifts. 3 a.m, empty lobby. No commission, no tips, nothing. A couple of us pushed back at the start. There was a guy, Kevin Marsh. Great guy. Wouldn't lie to a guest ever. Quoted everybody straight." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Trent got him fired last month. Said Kevin stole from the register. Everybody knew it wasn't true, but who's gonna argue with the GM?" "That's rough," Adam said. "There's also Doug Brennan, the billing manager. He's worse. He and Trent work it like a tag team. Trent gets people locked in emotionally. Then Doug closes it out with even more junk charges. Trip insurance you don't need. Room upgrades nobody asked for. Spa credits that never work. By the time a family checks out, they've got another couple grand on the bill and half of them never even notice." Adam filed every word away. He asked to use the restroom, stood up, and took a slow walk through the resort he'd designed 12 years ago. Everywhere he looked, the pattern repeated. Staff rushing guests through paperwork. Fingers covering the total until the last second. Phrases like, "That's just standard and everybody pays that," used to make the abnormal sound normal. Near the concierge desk, he overheard 2 employees laughing behind a pillar, not knowing anyone could hear. "You see the Whitfield family? The pregnant lady with the 3 kids? Doug cleaned them out, tacked on almost $1,000 in extras. The husband was so worried about keeping his wife comfortable, he didn't question a thing. Trent's gonna love the numbers this month. We might actually hit bonus." They high-fived. Adam's hands curled into fists at his sides. In the lounge, he made small talk with guests waiting to check in. A young couple thought the seasonal rate adjustment was a new state tax. An older pair believed they'd gotten a veteran's discount, not realizing their discount only canceled out a fee that shouldn't have existed in the first place. An elderly widow had been talked into a premium spa package she plainly didn't want. "They said my Walter would have wanted me to treat myself," she told Adam, dabbing her eyes. "Such nice young people." Every story was the same song in a different key. Trust taken, confusion manufactured, emotions used as a crowbar. On his way back through the lobby, he passed the wall of awards. Best guest experience, community excellence. A framed letter praising the company's ethical lunch practices. He remembered how proud he'd been to hang each one. Now they looked like a joke told at his own expense. Near the coffee station, he found Trent Callahan holding court with a cluster of new hires. Some kind of pep talk. Adam recognized it for what it really was. "Guests don't know what they want until we tell them," Trent was saying, sipping from a mug. "They don't know what they can afford until we show them how to stretch. Your job isn't to inform. Your job is to guide." A young woman raised her hand, hesitant. Her tag read Chloe. "But what if they ask about the fees directly?" Trent smiled, and there was no warmth anywhere in it. "Then you redirect, Chloe. You talk about the sunset. You talk about the memories. By the time you're done, they'll have forgotten they ever asked. And if they push, you bring them to me. I'll handle it." A few of the new hires laughed, too eagerly. Chloe forced a smile that never made it to her eyes. Adam had almost enough. Almost. He needed one more thing. He needed the man to say it himself, plainly, without any wiggle room. So he asked Ryan to set up a meeting with the general manager to talk about the fees on his own booking. Ryan looked worried, but he made the call, and a few minutes later, Adam was sitting across a wide desk from Trent Callahan in an office lined with dark wood and framed diplomas and family photos arranged just so. "Mr. Bishop," Trent said, teeth too white, "Ryan tells me you had some concerns about our pricing." Adam played it perfectly, a working guy trying to sound sharper than he was. "Yeah. Couldn't help noticing what happened with that other fella earlier. Those fees came out of nowhere. I'm wondering if I'm about to get the same surprise." Trent studied him for a long moment, the way a card sharp reads a mark. Then he chuckled. "You're sharper than most, Mr. Bishop. I like that." He leaned back. "Let me be straight with you. This business isn't about selling rooms. It's about selling dreams. People walk in here thinking they're buying a vacation. What they're really buying is a feeling, and you can't put a fixed price on a feeling." He spread his hands, warming up now, proud of himself. "The owner, Sandler, he's off counting his money at the other properties. As long as the revenue climbs, he stays away. And trust me, revenue has never looked better. Up 40% since I took over." "But what about people who can't really afford the extra charges?" Adam asked. "That's the beauty of it." Trent's smile went cold. "By the time they figure it out, they're already emotionally invested. Nobody wants to admit they got played. Pride, Mr. Bishop. Pride is a powerful thing. Most of them would rather choke on the payments than go home and tell their family they got fooled." He laced his fingers behind his head. "And the ones who do complain, that's what the fine print is for. And the owner really has no clue." Trent laughed out loud. "Sandler's a fool living in the past. Still believes in honest business and happy customers." He waved his hand. "You know what happened to the last guy who tried to send a complaint up the chain? Kevin something. I buried that complaint so deep it probably still hasn't seen daylight. Then, I fired him for stealing. Who's going to believe a fired clerk over a manager who brought in 40% growth?" Then he stood, walked around the desk, and perched on the edge of it, close. "I can tell you're smart. So here's a deal. That mandatory resort package, I can make it disappear. Cash. Say 500, slip to me, and your paperwork comes out clean. Call it tuition. A lesson in how things really work around here." Adam kept his voice easy. "And nobody ever catch us on? Please. I built this system over 2 years. It's airtight. The owner's too trusting, the guests are too desperate, and the staff is too scared to talk." Trent grinned. "Doug's on board. The senior people know the game. We weeded out anybody with a conscience. Between you and me, I've made more in kickbacks this year than Sandler probably clears in honest profit. I'm thinking of opening my own place in a couple years. Take everything I learned here and really scale it up." He pulled a fresh contract from his drawer and slid it over. "So, what do you say, Mr. Bishop? Ready to be one of the smart ones?" Adam looked at the contract for a moment. Then he stood up out of the chair, and when he spoke, the flat, easy drawl was gone. His real voice came back, steady and low. "Actually, Trent, I think we need to talk about your employment." He reached up and pulled off the cap. His hair fell loose. He straightened to his full height, and the slouching vacationer was just gone, replaced by a man who had built an empire from a single bad memory. Trent's face did the whole journey in about 2 seconds. Confusion, then recognition, crashing in like a wave, then pure, white terror. Mr. Sandler." He stumbled back into his desk, knocking a framed photo to the floor. Glass cracked. I can explain everything." "Can you?" Adam pressed a button on his phone. Trent's own voice filled the office. "The owner's too trusting. I've made more in kickbacks this year than Sandler probably clears in honest profit." The manager went from pale to gray. That's taken out of context." Adam let another line play. "Sandler's a fool living in the past." He didn't wait. He walked out of the office, crossed to the front desk, and picked up the lobby phone that piped through the whole property. All staff to the main lobby. Right now, no exceptions. Trent lunged for his computer, going for the files. Adam was faster. Touch that keyboard, he said, and I add destroying evidence to the list. Within minutes, the lobby filled with confused, whispering employees. Most had never seen the owner in person. When they realized who the guy in the hoodie really was, a ripple of shock went through the room. Ryan stood at the back, eyes wide. Chloe, the young hire from the pep talk, had a hand over her mouth. Doug Brennan, the billing manager, started edging toward a side exit. Doug, Adam said without turning around, stay right where you are. Doug froze. For those who don't know me, Adam said, and his voice carried across the marble, I'm Adam Sandler. I own this company, and today I found out how it's really been running. He played the recordings. Trent's bragging. The offer of a bribe. With every line, the room got heavier. Some people stared at the floor. Others clenched their fists. Ryan, Adam said, tell everyone how the shifts get assigned. Ryan stepped forward, shaky at first, then steadier, and laid it all out. The rewards, the punishments, the dead shifts for anyone who told the truth. Then Adam turned to Trent, who stood rigid by his office door, sweat on his forehead. You're fired effective now. Security will walk you out. He looked at Doug. You too. Same terms. Mr. Sandler, please, Doug said, his voice cracking. I have a family. So did every family you emptied out, Adam said. You should have thought about them first. Trent's mask shattered completely. You're making a mistake, Sandler. This place tanks without me. Those margins you love? Gone. Adam stepped in close so only Trent could hear. I'd rather earn $1 honest than steal 100. Then, louder, security, make sure Mr. Callahan doesn't leave with anything that isn't his, especially guest files. As they walked him out, rumpled and pale, Trent turned back one last time. You'll regret this. I've got connections. I'll bury you. Adam didn't blink. You already tried to bury everything I built, and you failed. The glass doors slid shut behind Trent Callahan for the last time. And then, from the entrance, came the sound of slow clapping. Everyone turned. Frank Delaney stood in the doorway. He'd come back to make one final plea for his deposit, and instead he'd walked straight into all of it. Tears ran down his weathered face as he clapped for the man, who had just torn the whole thing down. Adam crossed the lobby and put out his hand. Mr. Delaney, let's fix your reservation. You're getting the trip at the price you were quoted, every extra fee refunded, and your deposit stays right where it is. Frank couldn't speak. He gripped Adam's hand with both of his. My mother, he finally managed. She's really going to see the ocean. With the whole family, Adam said, on the house, and a suite with a view she'll never forget. Father saved a whole year for one family trip when I was a kid. A place like this ruined it with hidden fees. I built this company so that would never happen to anyone again. Today I found out I failed, but I'm here now, and I'm not leaving until it's right. In the weeks that followed, Blue Harbor turned itself inside out. Adam didn't go back to running things from the road. He moved into a small place near the Sarasota property and put his own desk right there in the lobby, out in the open. Every price got printed in plain numbers, all fees included, no surprises at the counter. A new sign went up over the entrance. Clarity, honesty, trust. And underneath, in smaller letters, the price you're quoted is the price you pay. He called every guest who'd been overcharged during Trent's run, personally. Some cried. Some didn't believe it at first and figured it was another trick. Denise, the woman whose review had kept him up at night, came in with her kids, braced for a con, and walked out with a full refund and an apology. Why would you do this, she asked. Because your trust is worth more than any profit, Adam told her. He tracked down Kevin Marsh, the clerk who'd been fired for refusing to lie, and offered him his job back, plus a promotion to head of guest relations. Kevin had been working a night shift at a gas station since he lost the job. When he came in, he could barely get the words out. Adam just put a hand on his shoulder. Trent told me I'd never work in this business again, Kevin said. He was wrong about a lot of things, Adam answered. Young Ryan Doyle, who'd kept quiet records of every crooked deal for 2 months, because he couldn't live with himself otherwise, got promoted too. And Chloe, the new hire who'd been told this was just how hotels worked, stayed on and became one of the honest ones. As for Trent Callahan and Doug Brennan, the evidence Adam had gathered, stacked on top of testimony from staff and guests, and a trail of altered records, was too much to fight. Both were charged with fraud, embezzlement, and extortion. The trial made the local news. Former guests testified. Bank records showed the kickbacks. Trent tried to claim he was just doing what every resort did, that he was being singled out, that a celebrity was hunting for good publicity. The jury didn't buy a word of it. He was sentenced to 4 years and ordered to pay back every guest he'd cheated. On his last day in the courtroom, something in him finally broke. He asked to speak, and this time there was no smooth voice, no cufflinks catching the light. I told myself it was just business, he said quietly, staring at his hands. I told myself nobody really got hurt. I was wrong. I looked at those people and I saw wallets. I stopped seeing people at all. And I'm ashamed of the man I turned into. It didn't undo anything. But for the first time it was true. Adam wasn't in the courtroom to hear it. He spent that morning at the front desk instead, helping an old Army veteran named Walter Briggs book his first real vacation in 20 years, at a fair price, with no hidden anything. Last time I dealt with a place like this, Walter said, gripping his hand, they made me feel like a fool. My grandson told me this one was different, said the owner actually cared. Adam smiled. Thanks for giving us the chance to prove it. Months later, Frank Delaney's mother, Margaret, sat in a wheelchair on a private balcony at sunset, her 3 grandkids piled around her, the whole coast lit up gold in front of her. Exactly the way she'd wanted it her whole life. Frank found Adam afterward and couldn't stop shaking his hand. You gave us the memory, he said. Not just the trip, the memory. We'll have that forever. That evening, Adam hung one last thing in his little office. A faded photograph of his father standing in front of a modest motel with a tired, hopeful smile, back before another place had taken that smile away. Next to it, he set a small sign for every employee to read on the way in. Trust is earned, one honest deal at a time. And under that, smaller, in memory of Sam Sandler, who deserved better, and for every family who walks through our doors, who deserves the same. He looked at his father's face for a long moment. Hope I made you proud, Dad, he said quietly. And somewhere, he was pretty sure, his father was smiling.